Let's take the D. Healthy headquarter and field agencies relationship thrive on effective communication. Again, similar idea. See, so their theme is communication this year, seems like. Obviously, headquarter and field agencies start with the basic structure of organization, right? We many times we have discussed in the classes also, right? That there is a department or there is a ministerial model and there is a departmental model. There is a secretariat, there is a directorate. The directorate is the actual line. The secretariat works like a general administrative staff. So you have to tell the structure. Obviously, without that, you cannot write. So tell the structure briefly and then talk about secretariat directorate relationship. And then directorate is further divided into an attached office, into a regional office, into local offices, right? Or technical offices, and likewise. So the headquarter, right? Attached offices, technical organizations which are supporting them, and field offices, right? For example. So every structure of the government more or less looks similar. So there are a variety of structures which exist in the government system, right? And one of the priority aspect of this is that how well policies or decisions could be implemented, right? So specialization or general monitoring and control, or for that matter, optimizing the resources or making the subordinates act effectively on the decisions of the superior. Now, these are the basic needs of any organization that has to efficiently function. So this, you can start this way, right? Healthy why? Obviously, what issues will emerge when headquarter and field relations or organizations will interact? Obviously, field is more localized. It is susceptible and vulnerable to the local conditions, right? For example, let's say protest. For example, local political conditions, regional demands, right? If you are located somewhere in northeast region, or you're located in somewhere Naxal affected area, or you're located somewhere in more disturbing area, the field officers would have to face the brunt of majority of the public violence or public opinion. This may not be visible to the headquarter. Fine. So there is a gap in terms of information, data, and understanding of the local ecology. Second, the field offices are more equipped to handle technical things, or what you can say day-to-day operations, right? Whereas headquarter is more concerned with policy or management policy, or for that matter, broader guidelines and vision of the organization. So there comes again a gap between the theory and practice of field and headquarter. Thirdly, the intellectual level. Obviously, people in the headquarter, they have more access to information, or at least so-called theoretical information. They are more well-versed with principles and logic. They have exposure, which is of national, regional, or global level. Whereas people at the field offices may not have that kind of exposure. So there's a difference in the intellectual ability of both, right? Fourth, obviously, the local conditions are so, or maybe so complex, right, that headquarter may not be able to understand why there are delays in the implementation of policies and programs. So this may create a kind of mutual distrust or conflict between them, right? So delays in implementation, success or failure of the policies to a large extent would be affected by a lot of regional factors, which headquarter may not take into consideration, right? Headquarter again is generalist dominated, whereas field may be comprising, like I said, more of technical people. So that may also create a controversy, right? Generalist versus specialist. Also, like for example, 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐬𝐷𝐬𝐿𝐼c have talked about, small arms, long finger, right? Arms and finger model. Arms and finger model relates to what extent the field offices or the attached offices are located, regionally far from the headquarter. So to what extent, right, it can be controlled or it should be left autonomous. It also to a large extent depend upon the nature of function they are performing. Obviously, field offices at times need to be given autonomy. Decentralization is a norm, and that is why they have been created. But you can understand that we have, like discussed many times, the model is deconcentration. The field office is a deconcentrated model and not a technically decentralized model. So the delegation of power, the administrative control, the authority, regulation, discipline, all is somewhere consistently under the control of the headquarter. So this also somewhere creates a problem of governance or administration at the local levels, because for anything they have to frequently refer to the headquarter. Both have pros and cons, right? You can write about it. It will give a better answer. In Indian context also, second ARC has highlighted this as a very important issue in administrative failure, that majority of the structure of governance, right, that is centralized. In spite of having decentralized units, majority of these functions are centralized, right? Any ministerial control, for example, finance ministry, right, now it has a lot of something called economic intelligence units or cells, right, which are operating somewhere around 1995. But then it is controlled by an economic intelligence council in the finance ministry, right, which is working at Delhi, which is controlling everything from Delhi. For same way, right, CAG operations, or for that matter, election commission. So there are several organizations which could be used as an example where a better, healthy headquarter field relationship is better for implementing policies and programs. Collectorate and sub-collectorate level, collectorate and state government level. See, a centralization, decentralization model exists, right? Also, if you are too innovative and you are quite, intelligent enough to link it, right? The same way we keep doing discussions in the class many times, right? Your paper 2 idea of, you can say, the territory and function dichotomy, there's an idea, right? That at the district level, the kind of governance we have is territorial, fine. Whereas how we are, functioning is basically related to specialization. So we have several organizations, but they are controlled under one district collector who is a territorial head. There are functional units, specialized units, they are controlled by their own superiors and their own hierarchy, right? But they are also horizontally controlled by the collector. Right? So this can also give you the idea that how the actual governance takes place, and that is why the headquarter field relationships may suffer, because there will be an intermediate hierarchy to which they have to respond, and they may not directly respond to their, or even if they're responding to their superiors, right, they will have to respond to a generalist called a collector. So it is up to your imagination and creativity to an extent how you can apply this knowledge, right? I'm not saying that may be the standard answer, but if you are looking for some brownie points, maybe half marks or 1 mark more, so you can use it and obviously bring the perspective that this problem also applies to the actual administration. Fine.